¿Qué tal amigos? Bienvenidos a un nuevo video en el canal. Estamos aquí de nuevo con todos ustedes. Feliz inicio de semana. Ya se fue la primera semana de junio muy rápido. Pero bueno, seguimos con la información y ahora le toca a la senadora Jackie Rosen darle literalmente sus palazos a Marco Rubio, la nueva piñata política del Senado. Y bueno, vamos a ver cómo le hace ver a Marco Rubio su pues cambiante opinión ante las noticias que están pasando en el mundo. Le hace ver totalmente enfrente de todos que Marco Rubio es un verdadero hipócrita, un político que es totalmente cambiante según le convenga. Así que bueno, quédense cómodos porque las imágenes que están a punto de ver son muy picantes y bueno, adelante.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to get right into it. Secretary Rubio, I'm going to embrace my Jewish mother instincts for a moment. So as a mother, a senator,
No, he's at the
and a fellow human being, I can tell you that I'm not even mad anymore about your complicity in this administration's destruction of U.S. global leadership. I'm simply disappointed. And I wonder if you're proud of yourself in this moment when you go home to your family, because I've always found you, Senator Rubio, to be a bipartisan, pragmatic partner, a true believer that the U.S. is stronger when we lead with diplomacy and development. You have a strong record on this, but I don't recognize Secretary Rubio. A stalwart support of Israel, you've watched this administration abandon Saudi normalization with Israel in order to pursue business deals. You were once a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin, but you sat idly by as the president berated the elected leader of Ukraine for not capitulating to Russia. And worst of all, you've kneecapped foreign assistance, including programs that you previously championed and made America less safe, less strong, less prosperous in doing so. I know you know this in your heart, and I can't make this point any better than you did yourself in 2019 when you said, anybody who tells you that we can slash foreign aid and that will bring us to balance is lying to you. So with that, I'm just going to move on to my questions. Thank you. And I'm going to talk about international women's issues because during your time as senator, you were a champion of international women's issues. You helped introduce bills that would have codified the Department's Office of Global Women's Issues and Women's Global Development Prosperity Initiative. You supported several bills, including Senator Shaheen's Bipartisan Women, Peace, and Security Act. During your confirmation hearing, you committed to me that you would support women's economic empowerment abroad. And at this year's International Women of Courage Award, you waxed poetically about the administration's support for women abroad. So help me understand how to square your past with your present. You're proposing the full elimination of the Office of Global Women's Issues. You've terminated hundreds of programs that help women and girls. You provided no guidance to the department on whether they should continue to implement the Women, Peace, and Security Act, and I'm still waiting to see your support for women's economic empowerment overseas. How can you dismiss the concerns of women around the world? Do you believe that the data shows that women's economic participation includes greater economic development worldwide and that women's participation in peace negotiations guarantees longer outcomes? And I have a few questions, so I would respectfully ask for a yes or no. Don't you think that women's participation is important and allows for better outcomes?
This is not a game show. I'm not going to ask that with a yes or no. That's an important question. And I can answer it. We're not abandoning women's issues.
So do you believe the Office of Global Women's Issues should be eliminated?
One thing is to eliminate an office. Another thing is to eliminate the function. The function will still exist. It'll be driven at the regional bureaus. So every one of our regions will have someone who's looking at and driving that issue, and right down to the embassy. It remains a priority. The same with the law that you outlined that I supported. This is going to be executed on, but it's going to be executed at the regional level and at the embassy level. And the reason why is because the challenges facing women in Africa are different than the challenges facing women in Central America,
and
which
I
are
have
different
your commitment that you're going to support women around the world, because without the women being able to be successful in their countries, I believe we can't have peace, stability, and our countries move forward.
Sure, and it remains part of our agenda. It's just going to be, the service is still going to be delivered, but it's going to be delivered at the regional and embassy
And when
level,
will we
not
see-
through a standalone office in Washington, D.C.
When will we see the reports on this and how this will be delivered?
Well, this is what we're engaged in with this committee now, which is our reorganization process. We've made an initial presentation to the committees. It's not final. We've received input through the comment period, including from our own building, but also from members of Congress on both sides, and meaning the House and Senate.
but what-
Now we'll come back to you based on all of that input on what we propose
So
to
do
be
you
the
have a
final
timeline of when
reorganization.
you'll come back? Because I don't want to see women left behind around the world, and I think you'd agree with me. But I'm going to turn on to Israel. If you can give us a timeline of when you're proposing to do this, that would be helpful, and we maybe come back and revisit it, Mr. Chairman. If you have a timeline of when.
Sure, we're engaged now. I think we'll owe you a congressional notification here within the next few weeks, which is but all of that is being built on the comment period in which we've taken input from staff and members of this committee as well as in the House.
Thank you. Can I move on to Israel for a second? So the Office of Security Coordinator in Israel, the OSC, was established by President Bush in 2005. The OSC is widely respected, including by the IDF Central Command, for facilitating security coordination between the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli security forces, which has been crucial in preventing terrorist attacks against Israelis. However, it's reported that you plan, again, to eliminate OSC, which I believe, and many others, could lead to further destabilization in the West Bank and threaten Israel's security. So, Mr. Secretary, should the U.S. continue playing a role in facilitating successful security coordination between IDF and Palestinian security forces to safeguard Israeli lives? And if so, do you believe the State Department should continue to maintain the OSC and support it financially?
Yeah, there's news reports every day about things that aren't true. So the only thing that's been discussed about OSC is whether it should be brought under the authority of the ambassador and the embassy.
You're not proposing eliminating. Thank you. We'll move further on this discussion. With my minute left, I'm going to talk about vaccines abroad, because Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, we are so proud, has prevented nearly 19 million children's deaths since it was created by providing vaccines to 50 countries. Diseases, they don't know borders. So a small investment from the U.S. can save American lives by stopping outbreaks really before they reach our shores. You were previously a champion of global vaccines, twice leading resolutions in support of continued U.S. investments in these programs. So, Mr. Secretary, again, do you consider vaccines, including for malaria, Ebola, to be life-saving? Given Gavi's proven track record of saving lives, preventing global disease outbreaks that could reach our borders, will you commit to prioritizing continued U.S. support for Gavi?
But we haven't canceled U.S. support for malaria or any of these other communicable diseases and or vaccines. What we have, there are some individual programs that may have been canceled because they weren't being delivered in the appropriate way. All of these functions will continue. The difference now is the function will be happening under the Department of State, as opposed to a set-alone entity, which you had very little oversight over, by the way, in this committee, even though we tried in the years that I was on it with USAID. And I don't want to, I may respond to one point you made just because I'm curious. We have not abandoned Saudi normalization with Israel, as you pointed. The Saudis are the ones that have expressed their inability to move forward on it so long as the conflict is happening in Gaza. But we would love to see normalization.
You know, when it comes to the Saudis and normalization, and we can have this I'd be so happy to have you in my office or come to your office and talk about this. It was quite apparent on the last trip that the president was more interested in making business deals and trying to move forward peace in the region. It's not just about the business deal. There's a lot going on, and there is pressure to bear. But we did receive a list, I just want to say for the record, that showed Gavi was terminated. And so if you could send something to show that it's turned back on, we'd
Pues bueno, ahí está la intervención, gran intervención de la senadora Jackie Rosen. La verdad es que lo hizo muy bien, muy bien. Me encantó cómo le hizo ver enfrente de todos a Marco Rubio su hipocresía total ante las cambiantes narrativas, que era lo que comentábamos al principio del video, según sea pues el momento que se esté pues viviendo. Y la verdad me encantó cómo Jackie Rosen pues le hizo ver a Marco Rubio pues su servilismo a Donald Trump en lugar de su verdadera función pública que debería ser hacia los Estados Unidos, desde al ya no criticar a Vladimir Putin, porque ya varios actores políticos del gobierno de Donald Trump, pues calificaban a Vladimir Putin como un dictador, como un terrorista, como un sinfín de adjetivos calificativos pues negativos hacia el presidente de Rusia, y después pues empezaron como que a cambiar aquí la narrativa con Vladimir Putin y oh sorpresa, de la noche a la mañana ya después no dijeron nada, absolutamente nada, perdón, cuando se supone que Rusia pues es el enemigo del mundo según la narrativa estadounidense. Y bien, y hablando de la hipocresía de Marco Rubio, de parte de la senadora Jackie Rosen, pues le hace ver a Marco Rubio como los programas que él antes pues defendía, ahora los critica. Es algo que se veía mucho aquí, al menos en México. Y bueno, esos programas que él defendía ahora los critica, pues claramente están haciendo pues de Estados Unidos, como lo dijo muy bien Jackie Rosen, están haciendo de Estados Unidos todo lo opuesto a lo que ellos creen que están haciendo, pues lo están haciendo pues menos seguro, lo están haciendo menos fuerte y lo están haciendo menos próspero. Y bueno, pues ya lo vimos también de que las mujeres tampoco se salvan de la hipocresía total de Marco Rubio. Ha estado él supuestamente alrededor de pues estos años apoyando mucho los programas para la paz, y pues digamos que pues su presente no tiene nada que ver con su pasado, y lo dijo muy bien la senadora Jackie Rosen. Y bueno, esto han sido sumamente duros estos pues especímenes del gobierno de Donald Trump, han sido duramente duros contra los migrantes, sobre todo latinos, contra los hermanos migrantes, y hay que recordarle bastante al secretario de Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, que pues su abuelo era cubano, tal cual así, su abuelo era cubano, y digamos que ese apellido Rubio y ese nombre propio, bueno, o ese nombre de Marco, pues realmente no es como que muy anglosajón, pues de su parte. Así que ya ni hablemos de los temas de que él está, bueno, o estuvo apoyando programas para la paz, pero bien lo dijo Jackie Rosen, no ha propuesto absolutamente nada para que se pacifique el problema de Israel con Palestina, y como siempre lo hemos visto, pues no acepta sus responsabilidades. Al contrario, están allá haciendo acuerdos comerciales, inmobiliarios con la familia de Trump, y es algo que se puede tranquilamente buscar en internet. Pero bueno, señores, hasta aquí el video. ¿Qué les pareció? Me encantaría que estuvieran comentando estos videos. Estamos leyendo todas sus comentarios. Les estamos agradecidos por todas sus muestras de apoyo. Y bueno, suscríbanse, es totalmente gratis, y ya saben que pues nos vemos hasta la siguiente. Les mando un abrazo y nos vemos. Bye bye.